that shit.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelletier, with my special guest today, Mr. Jon Nutt.
Big up.
CEO of Full Metal Dojo. Is that the title?
Founder. I go with founder. I don't, CEO makes it sound like I'm a businessman and a professional, and obviously I'm not. Big and stupid. And,
it's good. It's good. We're both quality unprofessionals.
Exactly. Try to keep it classy. You know what I mean? Ashy to classy. Biggie Smalls said it right.
So, I'm good. If you're into hip hop, we can talk quotables all day. I'm a huge hip hop fiend. So, Jon Nutt, for people that don't know, you're the busiest man in MMA in Thailand, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm definitely up there. Top 5, maybe top 10. Let's go with one of those.
Okay, that's already a good place to be. You're in the rankings.
Quite a bit online. Quite a bit.
Highly ranked.
Yeah, but so yeah, I mean, you were just.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you on the.
Before the show started, you said, I'm on the run, and so I have every day booked until June 20th, when I will go on a vacation. Actually, so literally every day.
Because Thailand's just not enough of a vacation, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. No.
Everybody's living a hard knock life out here.
Life, what is it?
But that's an interesting thing to actually touch on. I think a lot of people think that because we're all out here that it's all fun and games, but they don't realize that we're hustling like crazy.
Yeah, man. I feel like the moment that you kind of become an expat, the moment that you become kind of outside of your natural whatever cultural,
habitat,
socioeconomic, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Because again, like we're not really in the rat race, if you will, and I don't mean the rat race by 9 to 5. I just mean, you and I are both Americans, so we're not in American society. You know what I mean?
I'm actually Canadian.
Huh?
I'm actually Canadian, but I spent the last 6 years living and working in LA.
You're my brother from the north.
My brother from the north.
And I didn't know that you were LA. Whereabouts in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I used to work for EA Sports up in Vancouver. So I was a audio director for NBA Live up there. And during my time up there, I was, I've always just been an MMA junkie, and I was really pushing whatever buttons I could push in my limited role there to get the UFC license signed by EA, and that didn't happen. So one day I woke up and there was a news announcement that THQ, who was at the time a really big publisher, they'd acquired the rights to the UFC license. So I guess that was back in May of 2007. They put out a trailer with Rampage and Chuck Liddell at E3. I'm sure you know what E3 is, being from LA, Entertainment Expo. It's where the biggest video game conference in the world. And once I saw that trailer, I was like, I just looked at everybody at EA, and I'm like, I'm going to be working on that game. So I wrote THQ a letter just saying, here's who I am, here's what I do. And I specialized in doing play-by-play commentary for sports games. So I just told them, look, I've worked with the best guys in basketball, but the only sport I care about and love is MMA. So I want to be part of this project. And they flew me down and hired me a couple weeks later, and I ended up working on UFC Undisputed 1, 2, and 3. I was the audio director and the commentary designer for all 3 of those games. So that was actually being made up in Agura Hills with a Japanese developer based in Osaka. So we were basically designing the game and creating a lot of the animation assets and all of the audio in Los Angeles. And that was practical for me because I could record Joe Rogan there, or Bruce Buffer lived there, Mike Goldberg would just fly in from Phoenix. The third year we had to record Boss Rutan and Stephen Quadros, and they were right in LA. I mean, Boss Rutan lived like literally a mile from me.
Dude, I used to see him at the Krav Maga Center quite a bit, actually.
And
I lived right in Century City. I was right behind Fox Studios.
Okay.
So, like between Pico and Olympic on Fox Hills Drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I was right there. When you got there in 2007, though, that was kind of the year that like I was removing myself from American society. That was the year that I like sold my car. That was the year that I sold the apartment. Like I started getting rid of my condo, my apartment there. That was the year that like I basically made the decision to live full time abroad.
I can segue right into that. I mean, I just did that too. Like at the end of I did 4 years up in Agura Hills where I knocked out UFC 1, 2, and 3. Then we were going to make UFC 4 in San Diego. THQ had a studio down there. And then things just fell apart really brutally for THQ, and EA swooped in and picked up the license, and that canceled UFC 4. So UFC 4, that studio just got shut down. It was in Carlsbad. And then
Okay.
I just worked remotely from my place on their WWE 13 title. And then after that, THQ went belly up at the start of 2013, January 2013.
Okay.
So I worked a bit for a little company called Game On Audio that was based down in Venice Beach, and that just that was a working relationship that just didn't work out really quickly. So I got burnt out. I was sick and tired of it, and I just said, "Screw it." I sold my crib in Santa Monica. I left my Porsche at a buddy's like David Duchovny at the end of Californication, and and then just jumped on a one-way ticket to the Dominican Republic. And from there, I just traveled the world on one-way tickets for like 18 months, and then decided to do what I'm doing now.
Good job, brother. Well done. I mean, I salute and applaud everybody that does the journey, if you will. You learn a lot more about yourself that way.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's far
Human
from over.
evolution.
So what made you get the hell out of Dodge, out of LA, man?
I got a good one as well, man. So like I worked for a couple different security companies. I worked for a company called IMS. I did a lot of weird security, like real weird security, and by real weird, I worked for like I worked for pharmaceutical companies. If you've ever seen the movie Traffic.
Yep. Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah, you remember when Erica, the hot young girl, is just getting boned out by the large black man?
Yep.
Okay, so my job was to go and extract her. So I worked for pharmaceutical companies. Basically, doctors obviously don't go into the ghettos of just by the way, normally Venice Beach. So crack houses, everybody thinks of crack houses in Compton and Watts and South Central, and it's generally not. They're in Santa Monica. They're in Venice Beach. And so my job was to go, basically, a kid would make his way across the country from Manhattan. You know, a wealthy Manhattanite would find heroin or methamphetamine and work their way across the country. On like a meth binge, and they would hit rock bottom in LA. And when they would hit rock bottom in LA, they would finally make the phone call because either they were going to get killed or whatever it was. Their parents would call Prometa. Prometa stands for For Change. It's Latin for For Change. Prometa Center would call me, and I would have to go up to the door of this den of sin, and basically, you know, I had scripts.
Dude, you must. You needed a GoPro cam for that shit, dude.
Oh man,
strapped to the forehead like a miner.
Kept the burner.
Dude.
And I'd pull up on it, and I'd be like, you know,
wow,
hello, my name is Jonathan Nutt. I'm a friend of Dr. Matthew Torrington's and Jesus Christ. And I'm looking for, you know.
Oh my God, you must have seen some wild crap.
Yeah, man. I got a bunch of people that would pull up their shirts and show me their guns every once in a while. And I got, you know, never want to go into the house. Obviously, always want them to come to you. So, again, like I had scripts and I learned how to do this type of thing. And, you know, most of the time it's like, are you hungry? Can I treat you to some Jack in the Box or McDonald's? Maybe some In-N-Out right around the way. And that's where the doctors and the ambulance would be to pick up whoever it was.
Damn.
Aside from that, I also worked though. So I also worked for I don't know if you. So La Cienega, do you know the road La Cienega in Los Angeles?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that whole road, you know, it has Koi, which there's a Koi in Bangkok as well.
Okay.
And there was like STK and the Belmont and all these kind of like not hipster, but just cool, trendy little restaurants and bars. And I worked for the owner of a lot of those places. And so I worked the door at a lot of them, but I also worked like for, I'm not going to say shitty celebs, but I worked for a lot of like B, C, D list celebrities. And yeah, man. But I worked for Dr. Dre for a little bit. I worked for Aftermath for a little bit.
Okay.
Just doing video shoots and things like that.
Yep.
And so basically in 2004, we had friends that also worked for Aftermath. And this is a Googleable one. The guys that I was working with, they all worked the Vibe Music Awards in 2004. In 2004, Dr. Dre was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and when he was walking down the road to accept it, some guy stood up like a suicide bomber and just popped him in the face.
Damn.
And a big riot broke out, and Young Buck from G Unit, he had a shank, and he actually shanked somebody.
I remember that story. I remember that story when Young Buck stepped up.
All my team. That's my whole team.
Okay.
And they all got fired, even though you couldn't do anything about it. But needless to say, at the time,
did Dre actually get hurt?
Nah, he got like a black eye.
Yeah, he just got popped in the face once, but it's not like he had a concussion or anything.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And but yeah, I mean, like the security team that they were working with, they got fired. But I mean, like it didn't. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep.
But that was October 2004, and then I was planning a trip. I had some friends that used to come to Thailand. A bunch of guys that would also fight in Japan. That would like come to Thailand to lose weight before going. And I had a friend that was coming over here. I had a friend that was coming over here, and I decided I wanted to come over to do Muay Thai over here at Sawarapin Gym first, and then Sit Yod Tong in Pattaya. And when I first came to Thailand, it was early November 2004, and I was not about the food or the culture. And by the way, when I started doing Muay Thai out here, back in LA, I was doing it with like Shooter Box. When Shooter Box was first there, like Anthony Johnson was there.
Yep.
George Van Dam Oliveira was there. Roberto Passanini. So I was doing that. I was also at Wild Card. I was at Pound for Pound on La Brea. And at the time, Legends had not opened yet. So Legends was the bomb squad with Chris Riley. And that's actually where like Rob Kamen and Brandon Vera and those guys were training out of. So I was, and by the by, the UFC television show still hadn't kicked off. So although I was a huge MMA fan, I was also the type of guy that I was doing Krav Maga and I was doing Kung Fu and I was doing all these things to like people would talk to me about MMA and I would be like, yeah, it's great if you want a competition fight, but for me in my line of business, I need to hit you in the throat and the eyes and the groin at the same time. The only way I can do that is
the incapacitating trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. So that was what I was into. So I came over here and I actually didn't really enjoy even the Muay Thai scene at the time. So my buddy Mike Leibowitz, big shout out to him.
Okay.
He lives in San Francisco, and I talk to him all the time about the decisions that we've made because he went back and obviously stayed in the U.S. and I obviously didn't. But we went down to Phuket, and as a tourist, they tell you to go to Bangla Road and they tell you to go to Patong, and I hated it.
Yep, me too.
I have myself on video in December 1st in Patong, and I'm walking down and I'm like, this place is disgusting. It's like the Wild West. I could shoot somebody right now. Nobody would care. It's a bunch of whores. And what's funny about that is I have myself like a year to the date in 2005, and I'm like, Patong is heaven on earth. It's the best place I've ever been. My moral compass has changed. You know? Yep. So, anywho, to finish up my story, what happened with me is I went out to the island of Koh Phi Phi and absolutely fell in love with Thailand on Koh Phi Phi. Yep. And I stayed there, and it just so happened that year my parents had gotten divorced. So I was really thinking that I just was not going to come home for Christmas. My mother was like, you're a horrible, horrible son if you don't come home for Christmas.
Yeah, every time I've missed Christmas with my mom, I get the same treatment.
Yeah. But needless to say, she yelled at me, and I left Koh Phi Phi on the 24th. I flew out like on Christmas Day. And by the time I had arrived in Los Angeles, the tsunami had wiped out Koh Phi Phi.
Dude, so you were there like just a few days before that, right?
Yeah. I consider myself, you know what I mean? I wasn't actually there, but I missed,
that's a close call.
And I had about 22 friends that I was, pretty. You know, like when you first come over here and you're traveling and you're alone, you become very, very tight with the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and all of them are gone.
Dude, so wait a second. Let's dwell on that a minute. You're saying you lost like 22 friends in that tsunami?
Without a doubt. I mean, acquaintances. They weren't like lifelong.
Yeah, but I mean, still drinking buddies, whatever. Like people you're fighting with, training with.
My bungalow was on the beach in Tonsai Bay. So basically, the majority of the people that died were on this little. So Koh Phi Phi is shaped like an hourglass. When you come onto the island, you come in to the pier. On the backside, that's the Tonsai Bay, and we were all staying in bungalows that were on the beach. All of the bungalows that were staying in got picked up by the waves and put into the reservoir, and so most people just drowned. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's how I.
You must have been horrified when you turned on the news that day.
Man, absolutely blown away.
Like, just think, like, this is not possible. This didn't just happen.
Completely. My mother was like beside herself. Like, she was like, if I hadn't told you to come,
Would you have been there? Would you have been in that spot?
Oh, I would have slept. Dude, it was Christmas. Remember, it happened on Boxing Day, which we don't really celebrate. I mean, Canadians don't celebrate Boxing Day, do you? It's a British thing.
I mean, a bunch of idiots go buy shit at the store, like in the States, but I mean, I don't celebrate anything there. I mean,
right, exactly. Okay, so it was Boxing Day. I know that I would have been out partying on Christmas night. I would have been absolutely hammered. The first wave, not wave, but the first rising of the tide.
Yep.
It hit at around like 8:15, 8:30. So I would have been. I don't think I would have woken up. It probably would have been a pretty peaceful death, if you will. But I didn't have it.
That's intense, brother. That's intense.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm glad you weren't there.
Exactly.
I'm glad you weren't there. I mean, it sucks for the people you knew, but I mean, it's wow. What more to say?
I've always kind of talked about like the two biggest tragic days in like kind of my world's history happened to be the biggest like life-changing. Like, I love 9/11. If it wasn't for 9/11, I wouldn't have been doing security the way that I would have, and it wouldn't have been as lucrative as it was, and it wouldn't have been as, you know what I mean?
Where were you during September 11th?
I was in LA.
You were in LA. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And I had just moved there. I had just gotten an apartment. My mother actually flew out to help me with my apartment. She flew out on September 10th. She was on flight 11. That's the first one that went into the building. She was on that the day before on September 10th.
Oh my God. Are you serious? These are crazy coincidences, man. You guys have some serious angels watching over you or something, man.
Yeah, man. I feel blessed every day.
That's crazy.
Hence no negativity coming out of this guy. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Yeah. At that point, you just got to be like, hey, man, no matter what, I'm going to make it through this.
Oh, I'm generally on one plateaued hill, but if I ever hit valleys and I get down,
yeah, you just remember those things, right? Things happen for a reason. My goodness, that's crazy.
But so for me, 2005 came. It was post tsunami. I did a bunch of fundraisers. I got in touch with High PP, which was a nonprofit organization that was rebuilding.
So you came back to Thailand to help the cause, right?
So I got a job working for Donald Trump and the Miss Universe pageant, which was in Bangkok in 2005. And so I came over here on March 9th, the day that Biggie Smalls died.
Yep.
Hey, yo.
Yep.
The
greatest rap of all time, down on March 9th. That's a cannabis line.
Yep. So
from the best diss track ever against LL.
Here. Cannabis.
Second round KO. Dude.
Anywho, I came back here on March 9th. I worked the Miss Universe pageant, and then I went down to Kobe P and started rebuilding. I had a business there for a little while. I had a gym there. I've had a bar there. I stayed for the whole year of 2005. Got into fighting Muay Thai.
Okay.
Went back Christmas of 2005. Saw my family. Again, was like really, really debating what I was going to do. And yeah, 2006, I was like, I'm going to do a lot more travel. So I came to Thailand in 2006 pretty much by land. I tried to do as much by land as possible. So I did like LA to Boston. My only real flight was Boston to Shannon, Ireland. And then I went across Ireland, boat to France, France up to Amsterdam,
Crazy.
Through Poland to Germany to Russia, got on the Trans-Siberian Railroad and took the Trans-Siberian Railroad through all the stands to Mongolia and all the way to Beijing, and then Beijing down to Shanghai, Vietnam over, and yeah.
Yeah, because I went and spent New Year's in Russia this year.
Good times.
I ended up going out to a little town called Tchaikovsky and taking like a 20-hour old school, like, I don't know, military charcoal train. I mean, I'm sure just that we could talk about for a while about taking trains in Russia, man. But it was a wild experience.
Bread and cheeses and vodkas and you know.
Oh, and they crank the heat up, dude. And I couldn't breathe in the damn thing. It's just they turn on. It's not air conditioning. It's just like full blown heat. You sauna in there, right? Yeah. It was just wild. And then you're in these beds where I have these pictures of me where I'm trying to actually turn around in one of the bunk beds without getting off of it, and it was like I described it to people as like trying to do a U-turn inside a coffin. You know, you're just like bumping your head and falling overboard and knocking shit over, but I know. A crazy trip, man.
We stepped it up on like the second day being on the trains. Like we got there and we were like, we cannot be VIP. And the second day I was there, I'm like, fuck this. Yeah, I am paying for the VIP.
So the reason you were avoiding the planes though was just fear of flying, or?
No. It was, dude. Somebody was talking to me about the whole Trans-Siberian Railroad and like what a trip it would have been, and I had done like some college papers and some on Genghis Khan. It was the 400th anniversary of Genghis Khan in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. So like I wanted to be there for that. They have this man's man like festival tournament. I don't even remember what it's called, but it happens every July. It starts like July 7th. It goes until like July 12th. And it's all based around horseback riding, archery, and wrestling. Just some Spartacus
caveman shit.
Yeah,
exactly. Awesome. That sounds dope, actually.
And so we got off the train in Ulaanbaatar, and it was hilarious because we got off there planning on spending like 2 days, 3 days. Next train doesn't come for 10. You know what I mean? So spent a little bit of time in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and needless to say, Russia, pretty wild place. The day that I got there, we stayed at the Novotel the first night in Moscow, and we turned on the television, and it was like the 5 most expensive cities in the world, and
number one,
Moscow. It had just overtaken London, and it was like, oh, sweet,
great. Yeah, well, I'm telling you right now, they're going through some hardship, man. The ruble is worth toilet paper.
It's crushing me, by the way. It's absolutely.
How is that affecting you?
I actually, I kind of rent houses out. I work for like real estate in Phuket. That's actually, everybody's like, oh, you make a lot of money in MMA? No, I don't make any money in MMA, actually. It's funny that you should say that. Nobody makes any money in MMA. Keeping it real. Yep. That's keeping it real. Yeah. So I do. I rent houses out to Russians.
Yep. Because it's full of Russians here.
They're not coming.
Well, they can't. It's just like their buying power is just divided in two. And a lot of people that are here, a lot of the Russians that are here, they brought their kids here. I was talking to I was at the barbecue beatdown at Tiger on Saturday and was talking with a couple of teachers out here, and they're really worried about losing a lot of their kind of high end Russian clients, because even some of them are like, listen, we got to fold and get the hell out of here because our buying power has been divided in half overnight. Yo,
and the euro? Are you joking right now?
No, but dude, it's so crazy because, like I said, I left the States with US dollars, and I was like, oh god, and I spent a whole bunch of time in Europe. I was basically there for the last 8 months before coming here 2 months ago, and I was getting hammered every time I converted to euros and was spending my dollars. But now it's like they're at parity, and it's wild.
I'm sure I'm gonna sound like my father and like old man Smithers, if you will. But like when I first came to Thailand in 2004. It was 46 baht to the dollar.
Yep.
So it's now, what is it, 31 today?
Some horrifying stat like that. Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, what's going on with money in the world right now? I mean, if you're a Forex trader or something, there must be some wild money to be made and some wild money to be lost.
Exactly. The ups and downs, if you will. That's why you need to follow your passion and do what you want instead of fucking the clown show of chasing the dollars, because...
Yeah, that's not on my agenda. I mean, we got to eat, we got to still live. So, we got to find ways to make that happen. But like I tell people, I just don't even consume anymore. I mean, I don't buy stuff anymore. It's crazy. I have a bag of clothes. I've been wearing the same freaking clothes for 2 years. I don't have any jewelry. I just need to make sure that my iPhone works. I got a new laptop and an iPad. But ultimately,
that's the way to be. That's the way to be. Again, like, hey man, we're in Thailand. There are no big white people up on these TV screens.
Yep.
No big white people up on these billboards. What do we have to compare ourselves to? What do we have to,
I love it, man, because I hate that whole, dress up and go out crap. I mean, here you go to a club, you just still wear your flip-flops, your short, and your T-shirts. It's like...
In 2005, I was, so I was living on the whole year, I lived on Koh Phi Phi. I would come over to Phuket and I would fight at Patong Stadium, but my gym was on Koh Phi Phi and everything. So... In 2005, remember, the island of Koh Phi Phi doesn't have any cars, doesn't have, you know what I mean? They don't even allow bicycles right now. So I went from living a full year there. When I went back to L.A., one of my good friends is Garrett Hedlund.
Okay.
You know who he is?
I don't.
He was Tron in the last Tron movie. He was the blue guy.
Tron. Okay.
Yeah. He was also in like Friday Night Lights. He was Patrocles in the movie Troy.
Okay.
The kid that got his throat sliced, you know,
Okay.
Brad Pitt's cousin. So I was good friends with him and a kid named DJ Catrona, who's now like on the From Dusk Till Dawn television show.
Okay.
And they picked me up at the airport. This is like December 15th, December 16th, 2005. They picked me up at LAX in an Escalade, of course, because Escalades back then
were the shiznit.
Exactly. And by the way, we had a whole talk in the car about how I could, if I stayed around in LA, like I could be Entourage, like I could be Turtle.
Yep.
I could be the Turtle.
You could be Turtle.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if I could ever be Turtle. But they picked me up.
You're too big to be Turtle, dude. You'd be like Monster Turtle, the Godzilla version of Turtle.
Best turtle ever. I would have loved mooching off some star forever. That would have been
dude. Oh, dude, right now I'd love that, man.
They picked me up and they brought me to the Xbox 360 release party. Okay? It was up in the Hollywood Hills. There was free Lowry's steaks. So, like, I went from eating somtam and, like, rice and cownio and all this type of, you know, Thai food, Penangs and stuff.
Thai street food.
Lowry's steak absolutely murder my guts.
Good.
And then I found myself sitting on a couch playing Xbox 360 next to Snoop Dogg and Wilmer Valderrama.
Dope.
And I just remember like looking at them and being like, "What am I doing here?" And
so did you already feel like you'd outgrown that?
Well, it's
still an experience.
Come back to what we were, over that course of that evening, I had like 3 or 4 chicks ask me what zip code I lived in, what kind of car I drove. You know what I mean?
What you'd make for a living. Yep. It's pretty gross. It's pretty gross.
Yeah. And I just remember being like, I need to go back to the island that I was just on and go back to cliff jumping and spearfishing and doing all the
being in tune with nature a bit. Yep. It's too bad because LA. What's a shame is that LA infrastructure. What?
Huh?
Sorry, we're both blabbing and whatnot with it. Go ahead.
Do you want to be an actor and like act like a cop, or do you really want to be a cop and have the adventures that the cop has?
Yep.
And I kind of decided that I want to be the cop.
Yep.
Not literally, but
Yeah, it's too bad because I like the infrastructure of LA. I mean, not the fact that everybody's so far. I mean, the whole commuting thing sucks. But if you're able to live in Venice Beach or Santa Monica or it's beautiful. It's one of the rare places in the world that you can actually like buy a nice car and enjoy it because you can go for joyrides on Sunday through the Malibu canyons and go grab a bite to eat out at Neptune's and see some wild collectible cars and motorbikes driving around. There's a lot of cool qualities to it, but man, the people make it hard.
Yeah.
It's just,
again, if you have money, so that you can buy a beach cruiser, and you know what I mean, and you don't need the car in Venice Beach. Exactly what you're talking about. I used to do security at the Malibu Inn as well.
Yeah.
So that was like, again, remember 2005. This is when Paris Hilton was just becoming like Kim Kardashian wasn't even Kim Kardashian at the time. She hadn't even made that sex tape. So like I was dealing with like Jack Osbourne, Alex Orbison, Roy Orbison's son.
I love Roy Orbison.
Huh?
I love Roy Orbison's music. I'm actually a big fan of Roy Orbison.
Son is a really nice guy, but he hangs out with the shittiest people in the world, and it's all the LMAFO, whatever, party rockin' crew.
Good.
Those were all the kids that I had to take care of.
The group name that rolls the least nicely off the tongue, LMAF, whatever it is. I can't even say it.
But yeah, man. And then came back here again. I don't know where we were, but that
you went back. You did the Snoop Dogg Xbox party, and you're like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yep. And that was 2006. Came over here and traveled. Got over here. Stayed the full year, and then I went back there in 2007 to LA, and I was in LA for I think almost 2 months. And it was me getting rid of the condo, getting rid of the car, getting rid of furniture. Craigslist was like my new. I had just found out about Craigslist.
I gave my stuff all away. Just gave it all away. it was just a container. I just handed it over. Take my life belongings. Bye. Couldn't be bothered.
I gave a Thunderbird. I gave a Ford Thunderbird to Kids for Cancer.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a registration for it. And I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't sell it without a slip. Yeah. I like to hang out in some underworlds, some fringe areas. So I didn't have a fucking registration, and I gave that shit to Cancer.
All right, let's fast forward then. Let's talk some Full Metal Dojo. Explain to people what is Full Metal Dojo and where do you fit into the MMA scene here?
Full Metal Dojo, I guess we're technically Thailand's premier MMA organization, but basically, again, like, man, I'm just passionate about MMA. I've been a fighter. I've done it all, and I really, with the scene out here, I have my beliefs about how Thailand is going to fit into MMA in the next
Let's
years.
hear that. Let's elaborate on that. Where are they at now, and where are they going to?
Well, when I first came out here, and there were a lot of guys that were trying to get the Thais into MMA, because we all feel like Muay Thai is the best striking art, and it's 1/3 or 1/2 of MMA, and these guys are really going to know. But the education between the two sports and the education of where the Thais are at actually doesn't allow it to be that way. Remember that the sport of Muay Thai, 5 3-minute rounds, and the sport of Muay Thai is really geared towards gambling. So think of them as horses.
Yeah.
They don't get out and run full sprint right off the bat. That first round is always a feel-out round. Well, if a Muay Thai guy goes in to an MMA fight with the intentions of having it be a feel-out round, he gets taken down and he gets his arm ripped off.
Yep.
Yeah. And so what I'm trying to do right now is educate the guys, the Thai guys that I have found that I would like to sponsor towards going into the MMA universe, and teaching them you got to be aggressive right off the bat. You got to sprawl. You just have to learn how to sprawl. You got to learn takedown defense. You got to learn submission defense, and you got to sprawl. But other than that, you've had 100 fights, so you have the confidence, and you know that you can take shots to the face all day long. So,
what about the little gloves?
They don't mind them, man. I mean, these guys did Kachuk. We're in a place where it's the kingdom of Siam that I really care about. So, like, I'm not only about supporting Thai MMA. I'm about supporting Laos, Burma, Cambodia, Northern Malaysia. These guys all had different forms of Muay Thai, Muay Param, and I got a lot. I don't know how big the fan base is of people back in the States that will listen to it, but if you think MMA or Muay Thai is hardcore, you haven't even seen Litway. Litway is the Burmese boxing, and that is bare knuckle. You can tape your hands. They allow headbutts, and it's 10-minute rounds, but it only goes till the knockout or somebody stops. So
so it's KO or quit.
Yeah, KO or quit.
Go.
So I mean, Litway is like the most hardcore kind of fighting I think you can do, personally.
I'll have to check it out. I've never seen it. But
yeah, I mean, what in my personal opinions on the Thais and things, I think they're gonna crush. I have friends that work for Paradigm Agency in LA. They represent Conor McGregor and Michael Bisping, everybody. And I get to find out things that the UFC, ONE FC, Bellator, all the major organizations are looking for. One of the things that has been announced over and over and over again is if you're not ranked on SureDog or MMAfighting.com, you are an amateur. If you're not listed or ranked on there as a professional, you're not a professional. And what that means is that people like Buakaw is an amateur, Sanchai, amateur, Sam A, the Petsinkorn, the whole. It goes on and on and on. I basically have a kingdom of killers, and they're all amateur. So I used to think it would take about 5 to 7 years to get a Thai fighter into a major organization. I now think it's about 3 to 5 years, and based solely on Jumhod Kitty Sack fought in my last one. He's down at Tiger.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's 44, but the reason that we like him so much is by him coming into MMA, it has shown a lot of Thais that they can go into MMA. Remember, a lot of the Thais still think that the WWE is real. Awesome. I have a lot of Thais.
That must be a beautiful thing, because then they can just appreciate it. Just be like, these guys are nuts.
Ignorance is bliss, and I love it.
Ignorance is bliss, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, they think it's real. I get asked, like I go to Thammasat University. I go to these like War in the Cage, the amateur ones. I go to meet with like karate groups, taekwondo groups, and when I talk to them about Full Metal Dojo, they're like, "So it's to the death, right? It's to the death."
Sure.
And I'm like, "Yeah."
And it's on pay-per-view across internationally.
And they really do believe that when you get arm barred, the arm has to break. They don't know about tapping. They don't know about submitting.
Okay.
So like they think that if you get choked, you're dying. And again, ignorance is bliss. But I mean, good Lord, there's a point where it's just stupidity. And I'm you know, man, a lot of people. I've gotten to the level where I've gotten here, and certain people think that they know better than me. Great. We're not on opposing sides. We should actually team up. I don't care if you don't like what I do.
Yeah.
You need to go educate them from your side. I'll educate them from my side. It just so happens that I speak Thai, and most of the other people that are Falang that are here, living in Thailand,
don't speak a word.
Haven't educated themselves towards Thai culture.
I mean, that gives you such a crazy, huge advantage, man. And in terms of business, my God, that's just, what an advantage. How did you learn Thai?
www.etaimusic.com. I am dyslexic as all hell. I was on reading for the blind and dyslexic through college, which I dropped out of.
Really?
I was never allowed to learn a language in school because they made me learn Latin instead of an actual language because they thought that I would never be able to. And then when I got out to LA, lo siento, solamente puedo decir hola, ¿cómo estás? I started picking up Spanish just by hanging out with the Guatemalan and Mexicans that were in the kitchens of the bars that I was working with. Turns out I'm an auditory learner. Never taken a guitar lesson in my life, but I can strum you a tune or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
just quick learner.
Yeah, when it comes to that type of stuff. So you know, I was living on Kobe P. I didn't really have a care to learn the language, but when I was working with Thais all day, I was kind of forced to learn, you know, the simple stuff. And then in terms of learning a language, I feel like it's very much like learning a martial art. You have to attack it. It's all about repetition. You got to do it as much as you can. So you have to know your learning style. I know that I don't learn with computers. Like I don't type. Okay. But I know that if I write something down a couple times, it goes into my brain. So like flashcards is the way that I go. So 10 words a day, attack that shit. 10 words.
I've heard a lot of guys, you know, just traveling all over the world these past couple of years, I've encountered, you know, so many different people or Westerners that are living in Asian countries or Hispanic ones and European ones. And I'm fascinated by how many people have been able to pick up languages just by talking with people and living in those places. It's fascinating. Like no formal training at all.
None. Yeah.
You know,
I just came this weekend. I was down with Malaysian Invasion, which big ups to Malaysian Invasion. Those guys are killing it.
Yeah, let's talk after what that connection is.
Well,
go ahead,
dude. What I was gonna say is I just came from Borneo, the island of Borneo, and Sarawak and Kuching, that whole Asian that section of Malaysia. Everybody that I hung out with spoke 5 languages at least. I met
Crazy.
2 polyglots. You know what a polyglot is?
Someone who speaks a bunch of languages.
Somebody that speaks over 10 languages.
Wow. Crazy,
I mean,
man.
They're not even talking
decaglot?
dialects. You know what I mean? Like it was absolutely mind blowing to me. Everybody that I was hanging out with was just IQ wise probably blowing me away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's heavy duty. When your brain is capable of processing 10 languages, I mean that's something else. You know, I speak fluent French, fluent English, and a smidget of Spanish. But you know, the idea of hey, dude, you got to learn Thai now would just be like gritting my teeth. You know? Yeah.
But the major thing on going to different cultures, this is the reason that I feel like I've done very well in Thailand, is because I am my dad really instilled like assimilation is bad when it's in your culture and you don't like it, and assimilation is awesome when you're going to another culture to be a part of theirs. You have to learn their cultures, you have to learn their ways, and the way of doing that is through pop culture. And so like I'm a pop culture dork. And I love it when it comes to the Thais. So like I listen to I listen to Body Slam, which is the biggest Thai band. I listen to Carabao. I listen to Sekloso. I listen to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And through those bands, I would then go on to www.ethaimusic.com. They should fucking sponsor me. And
hey, maybe get them sponsoring your show, dude.
Exactly.
Why not?
And so they have it on those websites in Thai, and then in phonetic English, the karaoke version, and then the meaning down below. So you can go there and get that done. Yeah. Excellent.
So listen, you've had 4 shows with Full Metal Dojo. Have they been successes? I was at the first one actually. That's
yeah, they've been great success. I mean, it depends on what your idea of success is. I think I'm like one of the only promoters in the world that will actually be honest about what it takes to be a promotion, because I think that's what.
So define a successful event for you.
If everybody has a really, really good time and they come over to me at the end of the show and they're like, "Oh my God, that was the best time I've ever had." That was a successful show.
Now, did you make money?
I have very few haters, which I don't even like the word hater. Admirers. I have very few admirers at my shows. So yeah,
Oh, I always say that, dude. I always say that hate is the new love.
You can't please everybody, but for the most part, it's all good things. And yeah, dude, first 2 shows down in Phuket were lovely. Again, as a promoter, it's all.
Joey, just wait a sec, John. You're breaking up.
You with me now?
Yeah, sorry. Pick up from the first 2 shows in Phuket.
First 2 shows in Phuket were awesome, but I knew that I knew originally that I was going to come back to Bangkok. Like I knew it. You can't take over a country, if you will, without being in its capital. You can throw shows all day long in the suburbs, but if you're not going to the city, you're not getting the majors. You know what I mean? And by that I mean, again, anybody that's out there that like wants to promote a show, go do it. But I warn you, you can't plan on just having a one-off. Or at least you won't make money. There's no way to make money off of just having one show.
Yep.
So you have to have a business plan, a business model of having numerous shows, and then you have to have it down where you're going to get your revenue streams from. You know what I mean? And again, like.
So what are your revenue streams then for Full Metal Dojo?
Well, I plan on taking over the world. So everything from merchandise. Which we don't do right now. Why? Because as a smaller promotion, why put a lot of money into T-shirts when you need ticket sales? I need to be on TV in order to make any kind of real money. As a promotion, you need to have views, and if you have a cult following, that's great. I feel like I have a little bit of a cult following, but I don't, I'm very, very realistic about how many people come. I'm very realistic about, again, like 1FC probably doesn't give 2 shits about ticket sales because they're into the content provision business. They're huge content providers on loads of networks in loads of different countries.
Yeah, so, I've heard they're just broadcast everywhere out here.
Everywhere.
It's awesome.
So again, like they don't care, but I'm a smaller organization, so I care about these things.
Yeah.
So where do I make my revenue? I make my revenue on ticket sales, F&B. F&B is huge for me.
Yep.
I give a big, huge shout out to Singha. Again, I promote myself as MMA at a party. I'm not a normal MMA organization. This is not. I went into this thing fully well knowing that I wanted blood sport. I wanted an 80s or 90s action movie to be real life, and that's what I'm doing. I'm any kid that grew up in my era watching Schwarzenegger, watching JCVD.
How old are you?
I am the real life bad guy in the Enter the Dragon movie.
We're probably pretty close in age. How old are you?
35.
Oh fuck, I'm older than you. I'm 39. Jesus, I'm an
Hello.
Okay, but I'm with you, dude. I mean, I was just a martial arts fiend, as a kid. With that same generation, the Seagals, the Van Dams, the Dolph Lundgrens, and the even the ninja movies, man.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Sho Kosugi.
When people watched Enter the Dragon and they were all like, "I want to be Bruce Lee," I was like, "I want to cut off my hand right now so I can put a claw on it and stab somebody with it."
Yep.
I wanted to be the bad guy. I always wanted to be the bad guy.
So what's you're 4 shows deep? Where do you go from here? You happy with the progress?
Well, no, it's crack the Thai market. I have a good enough name. I personally believe that people come to my shows again for the party and the fights, and so having huge named fighters and paying those big purses doesn't really make a lot of sense for me right now. What makes a lot of sense for me right now is having all Thai shows. That's why Full Metal Dojo 5 on May 9th is an all Thai event. I'll do cash prizes. I'm going to actually set up I'm going to set up three amateur Thai tournaments, and they'll get a cash prize. So you can't really entice any of the Thais to fight without money.
Yep.
But I'm going to do a 4-man tournament in featherweight, bantamweight, and I don't know if we're going lightweight or strawweight. We haven't decided that yet.
So how have you been matchmaking and culling your fighters for the first 4 shows? I've seen your cards it's a mix of everything. You got French dudes on there, you've got American guys on there, you've got Finnish dudes, you got all sorts of, and then a bunch of Thais. How have you put together the matchmaking in your early events here?
Well, I try to have my cards be at least 60% Thai at least. I also really do look to have Cambodia on there as well each time. From there, I generally try to pick from guys that either have somewhat of a following, come from a camp that has somewhat of a following. So again, I do look for the Tiger Muay Thais, the AKAs, the PTTs, all those. A lot of them
that's all stuff that's going to bring eyeballs to your show, right? Let's be real here. You need to have whatever banners and advertising that's kind of built into these fighters that you're getting on your shows, right?
Yes, but you'd be surprised because there's so much ego in this industry, and everybody's fighting for. Again, MMA will never be it'll never be what FIFA is because it's a one-man sport. It's not a team sport, and at the higher level, everybody's fighting for themselves. Ego comes into play. People get selfish, and we're all fighting for the same thing, which is growing the market. Which is again, no MMA or combat sport person should be against another MMA or combat sport person. It's turning the eyeballs away from
traditional sports.
Exactly. Again, why
football,
watch
basketball,
NASCAR?
hockey, soccer,
Exactly.
tennis.
Come on, tennis.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But those are our opinions. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. And thus, 60% Thai, and then I try to match it up. I also, though, you got to understand, I left Dare Fight Sports to kind of do Full Metal Dojo.
Okay.
And so when I started this whole thing on my own, I went out to the people that I kind of knew, and I was like, yo, I'm doing this on my own. Can you help me? There were certain people that were like, oh, I'll give you my roster of fighters. And there were certain people that were like, what do you need? Do you need accommodations? You know what I mean? Who do you think I went with? Who do you think I'm helping? You know what I mean? I'm not.
So who are some of the people that showed you some real love then?
You've talked to Will Elliott. You know Will Elliott.
Yep.
Big up to Will Elliott and Tiger Muay Thai because again they, Ole Larson and the Legacy guys obviously got a lot of love for them. There are crews though like Borneo Tribal Squad, AJ Pyro and Emily and Ann Osman and those groups. You got to understand the Diesel Diva. If nobody knows who Beverly Aisha Toomer, Beverly Roach is, she's the Diesel Diva. She's like one of the biggest supporters of MMA, Arab MMA and Asian MMA. And without sponsors, we don't exist. And now sponsors can be one of two things. People can actually give you money or they can give you product. And I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to either one. Obviously, we like the greenbacks. Obviously, we like the shekels, the ruples, the coins. But if somebody's willing to buy a flight for one of my fighters, buy a hotel room for one of my fighters, anything to take the heat off.
To just alleviate your bottom line costs, expenses, that burn, man.
People don't do the simple people that are trying to be promoters, like fighters don't understand this. I feel like a lot of fighters only look at it from the fighter point of view, which is I want to get as much as I can out of a promoter. And that's why if you don't sign contracts, fighters will clear the mini bar in the hotel room after their fight, which I totally understand. But who's paying for that?
Yep.
And I didn't sign on to pay for a full freaking mini bar and a surf and turf meal for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why when my first show, I didn't do contracts. I did all handshakes, and then I was taken advantage of, and so now I do contracts. And
yeah, it's dodgy, man.
Anything to alleviate the stress. I mean, again, let's do simple math. Let's say you're paying your fighters $1,000 to show, $1,000 to win. Okay, so it's $3,000 US a fight. You got 6 fights. That's an $18,000 fight card. Now you have to fly in their corners. You have to pay for their hotels. How about medical bills? Because I don't want AIDS or hepatitis to exist in this dojo. It gets very costly. And by the way, fighter that I'm giving $1,000 to, are you bringing me $1,000 sales?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, the way you describe your show, and I attended the first one, it's that it's some wild fights and a wild night of partying. It's not an event in the sense of a UFC or a thing where there's a main event with these guys. I mean, obviously you are building up the card to bigger and better guys as you go up the card, but it's not anchored around star power, if you will.
Heck no. And that's the thing. Eventually, because again, I want to be like the largest feeder organization in Asia.
Good.
I want to be the place where like the Malaysian invasion guys can come to have their debuts, to get their jump off, to go to the ONE FC, to go to Bellator, to go World Series of Fighting, and hopefully in the future, again, I want my guys to go to the UFC.
Yep.
Damn. So, again, I want to be that, and so I don't want any names. If you get to a place, again, I got fighters that come to me all the time that are like, yo, I'm this guy, I'm a UFC fighter, and I'd love to fight on a Full Metal Dojo card. I don't need to get paid that much. Well, that's great. Now try to find me an opponent for you that doesn't want to get paid that much either, because that's not
get his head ripped off.
Yeah.
Get his head ripped off in the process.
Exactly, and that's the other thing. I'm not going to be a can-crushing unit either. I want to make fair matchups because I want to be a matchmaker. So
are you the matchmaker within FMD as well? Okay.
Yep. Me, my boy Reed Webster helps me out. Big shout out to Jack Starr as well down in Malaysia. He gets a lot of stuff done. That guy's like the man behind the curtain in terms of Asian MMA. Yeah, man, we find out what their skill sets are. I mean, dude, I've gone to people's gyms to see them kick a bag so that I can, you know what I mean? So I can figure out how without a doubt.
Absolutely. No, but I mean, I think that's what's really dope about you is how integrated into the camps and with the fighters you are. And I mean, you've even fought on your own show, which is crazy. Yep. Well, I wanted to ask you.
I'm going to fight on my next show.
Okay, because you were supposed to fight against Musa Conte in Fight 4. What happened there? Because I'm having Musa on the show this week, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So he took a fight in Kunlun.
Okay.
Which again, I handshake and then I sign contracts before the event.
Okay.
But I don't sign contracts like weeks in before, and so Musa was able to get a higher paying fight in Kunlun.
Okay.
And he very politely, asked me, he was like, dude, I'm gonna take this fight. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Go kick his ass and then come and kick my ass. and he went and he got heel hooked.
Oh shit. Okay.
And he couldn't train anymore and he couldn't run.
Because his knee got jacked up or what?
Like, huh?
Did his knee get jacked up? I mean, what happened?
Yeah, he got heel.
Yep.
He got heel hooked. He couldn't run, couldn't train, and he called me up and he was like, "I can't do it," and I was like, "Okay, the fight's off." And I had some people that were like, "Yo, you should just find another opponent." It's like, yeah, okay, you want to add some more stress to my shoulders? You want to jump on the board as well?
Yep.
No.
Okay,
do my own
so
thing.
No bad blood between you and Musa. Just he took a fight.
I think Musa's a great guy. The reason that I decided to fight Musa in the first place was because I think Musa's a very nice human being. We have a lot of similar friends.
Yeah.
They all speak very highly of him. So I was like, and plus, I thought, by the way, that from his striking background and my striking background, we'd be able to stand and bloody each other's faces, and that's what I was into.
Give the fans what they came for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so do you still think you're capable of taking so you are going to fight at FMD 5?
Full Metal Dojo 5, as of right now, I'm going to fight Dana Bluin, who is one of our officials.
Okay.
And he's an official from Malaysian Invasion as well. We call him Dana Black. And
and I'm gonna make him wear a singlet. Without a doubt, I'll wear jean shorts.
Just make it a spectacle, right?
Without a doubt.
Awesome.
We're gonna refer to it as an encore match because I'll obviously be hosting the show, and he's obviously gonna be reffing a lot of the event. And because we're doing tournaments, we don't know if guys are gonna get injured, if there's an injury, if there's not enough time. Me and Dana are gonna step up there and again go at it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at you, you're almost like the Robert Rodriguez of MMA. I mean, you know who Robert Rodriguez is, right?
I do.
The filmmaker.
And
it's like and he does the audio, he does the editing. I mean, you're in there ring announcing. You're in there. I mean, FMD1, you were singing like Metallica joints and shit in there.
Yep.
You're in there fighting. I mean, is this? You're living the whole experience, man.
Yeah, man.
You're a pretty unique character, man.
After my last show, I got the best compliment that I've ever had. Because again, like I sang the national anthem, and then I sang the King's anthem, and then I sing, I perform all the whole nine. At this last one, I was pouring drinks behind the bar, like between fights. While fights were going on, I was pouring Jack Daniels for some guy, and he came over and he goes, "You're omnipresent, like God."
Well, dude, I mean, it sounds like you're putting on the type of show that you wish someone else was putting on that you could just go be a fan at.
Yes.
Basically putting on your own party, and you're mixing drinks, you're ring announcing, you're throwing bombs, you're taking hits, you're matchmaking. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, and it's hopefully what will get me into a position where I can affect Southeast Asian MMA on a greater level.
Yeah, I mean, let's wrap things up on that note, John. John, what's the end goal here? Is it to become the biggest feeder org and you just sit tight and you keep pumping out shows, get Thais on board with MMA, accepting it as a real sport, as an alternative to Muay Thai?
To tell you the truth, it kind of is. It's to.
I mean, it sounds like you're a real evangelist and ambassador for MMA in Southeast Asia and in particular in Thailand.
Without a doubt. And again, I actually I love Thailand so much. There are only a couple Falang that are like really powerful people who have gotten Thai citizenship, for instance. Like I really want to get my Thai citizenship.
Yep.
As an American, we can hold dual citizenship. That's something that I strive for.
Yeah.
That's why I'm ticking off the boxes and singing the anthem and reading.
You're showing love, man. You speak the friggin' language, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to score you some points, man.
Yeah, there's a guy named Will Heineke, Bill Heineke. He's like the king of the expats. He's a Thai citizen. Okay. He owns Anantara hotels. He owns Pizza Company. He owns Burger King.
Okay.
And again, if you show love here, they'll show you love back. So a lot of people come to Thailand for the nightlife and the girls and that type of stuff. And I want them to come because this is where warriors are made. And I want the warriors that are here now to get on international stages and have Thais crushing it in the lower weight classes and have the rest of the world recognize that Sanchai could probably kick Uriah Faber's ass if he knows how to sprawl. Striking wise, if you put those guys both in a Muay Thai fight, I bet you Sanchai's cartwheel kicking him all day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, it's feeder organizations. A lot of people are like, oh, you don't want to be one. Dude, you always want to be bigger and better, but there's a certain I don't want to be. Financially, I'm stable. I don't need any more fame, if you will. It's about it's about making this sport the number one. I believe similar to I don't listen to Joe Rogan podcasts. I don't do any of that stuff, but I believe a lot of stuff like he does. This is the manimal sport. This is human nature. Tommy Toehold.
Yep.
I am a fan of Tommy Toehold. It's human nature, and I want to. Anytime that there's a promotion that's doing it, we're never going to be able to find out who the top dog is in the world. I truly believe that there's a small Chinaman up in a Shaolin temple right now who could dim mock the shit out of GSP, and that would happen. Yeah. But if we could get this into the Olympics, if we could get it to be an Olympic sport and take it out of the hands of the UFC, so it's not a promotion. A lot of people love Dana White and they're like, oh, he's the best promoter. Not to me. Don King. Hello, I grew up watching boxing and Don King was the best promoter, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure we could talk about an hour about that, but that'll be for part 2 whenever we get around to it.
The other thing that I guess I want to do is again, let's wrap it up. But the other thing that I guess I want to do is I am setting the benchmark for Thai MMA in terms of pricing, in terms of medical tests, in terms of everything like that.
Yeah,
so
creating some standards.
I'm creating the standards, and so anybody that wants to come after me has to raise those bars, and that's fine. I'd love,
Yeah, it sounds like you encourage that. I'd love.
I very much do. I would love it if a large company like a True Vision or
Would you even consult for a company like that to get them up and running?
I talk to them all the time.
Good, that's dope.
And they just need. I
respect that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah, you're not on some keep it small, keep it all mentality. It's more like just let's help it grow and propagate this thing like the plague, man.
Exactly. So, spread it.
Awesome, man. Spread it. Let's end it on that note, man.
Awesome.
Listen, John, it was a fascinating talk, man. You're a cool dude. I'd seen you several times at Tiger. We never had the opportunity to meet. I'm going to be in Phuket till May 3rd, and I'll be coming back after as well. Hopefully, do you think you'll be out here between now and then, or what?
I'll be down there in late April. But again, dude, I'm in Bangkok this weekend for the BKK Copa de Bangkok.
Right. I was talking with Olavo and Chad at PTT, and I know they're firing up a bus of like 20 guys from Phuket Top Team up there for that.
Awesome. So, and then I'm in Sabah in Borneo on April 11th, 12th. I stay there through that week. I'm in Selangor at the Paradigm Mall for Malaysian Invasion on April 19th and 18th and 19th and 20th. I got my show on May 9th. Our following one to that is going to be on June 20th. I'm then going back to the States to get married and going back for the UFC convention to go meet up with Dana.
Awesome. And, congrats on the marriage, man.
Yeah. It's going to be sweet. I'm going to procreate the shit out of it.
Congrats on the massive mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Here. I got to have a kid. I don't know why. Menopause set in. All of a sudden I want a child for some reason. I don't know.
Well, listen, Matt, you sound like the busiest man in showbiz in Thailand, but it'd be great to grab a beer together. If you got some time up here, we're on Facebook. Just ping me and let's try to make it happen. I can scoot out to wherever you're at, and you got to eat and put some food and drink in your gullet at some point. So
let's do it.
I'll join you. We can snap up a couple pictures for Instagram and act a fool.
For sure, man. For sure. It's been very lovely talking to you. Are we gonna shut this down and then have a little extra talk?
We are. You got to get those little outtakes, man.
Exactly.
The people will demand more ignorance. Awesome. Here. All right, this was the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Peltier, with my special guest, MMA promoter and all-around omnipresent fight force in Thailand, folks, Mr. Jon Nutt. Jon, thank you for your time. Awesome.
Thank you.
We're out of here, guys. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Peltier, with my special guest today, Mr. Jon Nutt.
Big up.
CEO of Full Metal Dojo. Is that the title?
Founder. I go with founder. I don't. CEO makes it sound like I'm a businessman and a professional, and obviously I'm not. Big and stupid. And,
it's good. It's good. We're both quality unprofessionals.
Exactly. Try to keep it classy. You know what I mean? Ashy to classy. Biggie Smalls said it right.
So, I'm good. If you're into hip hop, we can talk quotables all day. I'm a huge hip hop fiend. So, Jon Nutt, for people that don't know, you're the busiest man in MMA in Thailand, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm definitely up there. Top 5, maybe top 10. Let's go with one of those.
Okay, that's already a good place to be. You're in the rankings.
Quite a bit online. Quite a bit.
Highly ranked.
Yeah, but so yeah, I mean, you were just.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you on the.
Before the show started, you said, I'm on the run, and so I have every day booked until June 20th, when I will go on a vacation. Actually, so.
Okay.
Literally every day.
Because Thailand's just not enough of a vacation, right?
Well, yeah. Exactly. No.
Everybody's living the hard knock life out here.
Life. What is it? You know.
But that's an interesting thing to actually touch on. I think a lot of people think that because we're all out here that it's all fun and games, but they don't realize that we're hustling like crazy.
Yeah, man. I feel like the moment that you kind of become an expat, the moment that you become kind of outside of your natural whatever cultural,
habitat,
socioeconomic, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Because again, like we're not really in the rat race, if you will, and I don't mean the rat race by 9 to 5. I just mean you and I are both Americans, so we're not in American society. You know what I mean?
I'm actually Canadian.
Huh?
I'm actually Canadian, but I spent the last 6 years living and working in LA.
You're my brother from the north.
My brother from the north.
And I didn't know that you were LA. Whereabouts in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I used to work for EA Sports up in Vancouver. So I was a audio director for NBA Live up there. And during my time up there, I've always just been in.
And when they would hit rock bottom in LA, they would finally make the phone call because either they were going to get killed or whatever it was. Their parents would call ProMeta. ProMeta stands for For Change. It's Latin for For Change. ProMeta Center would call me, and I would have to go up to the door of this den of sin, and basically, I had scripts.
Dude, you needed a GoPro cam for that shit, dude.
Oh, man.
Strapped to the forehead like a miner.
Kept the banner.
Dude.
And I'd pull up on it, and I'd be like,
wow,
hello, my name is Jonathan Nutt. I'm a friend of Dr. Matthew Torrington's and Jesus Christ, and I'm looking for,
Oh my God, you must have seen some wild crap.
Yeah, man. I got a bunch of people that would pull up their shirts and show me their guns every once in a while, and I got, never want to go into the house. Obviously, always want them to come to you. So. Again, like I had scripts and I learned how to do this type of thing, and most of the time it's like, are you hungry? Can I treat you to some Jack in the Box or McDonald's? Maybe some In-N-Out right around the way, and that's where the doctors and the ambulance would be to pick up whoever it was.
Damn.
Aside from that, I also worked though. So I also worked for I don't know if you. So La Cienega, do you know the road La Cienega in Los Angeles?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that whole road, it has Koi. Which there's a Koi in Bangkok as well,
okay.
And there's like STK and the Belmont and all these kind of like not hipster, but just cool, trendy little restaurants and bars. And I worked for the owner of a lot of those places, and so I worked the door at a lot of them. But I also worked like for, I'm not gonna say shitty celebs, but I worked for a lot of like B, C, D list celebrities. And yeah, man. But I worked for Dr. Dre for a little bit. I worked for Aftermath for a little bit.
Okay.
Just doing video shoots and things like that.
Yep.
And so basically in 2004, we had friends that also worked for Aftermath. And this is a Googleable one. The guys that I was working with, they all worked the Vibe Music Awards in 2004. Yep. In 2004, Dr. Dre was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. And when he was walking down the road to accept it, some guy stood up like a suicide bomber and just popped him in the face.
Damn.
And a big riot broke out, and Young Buck from G Unit.
Yep.
He had a shank. And he actually shanked somebody.
I remember that story. When Young Buck stepped up.
All my team. That's my whole team.
Okay.
And they all got fired, even though you couldn't do anything about it. But needless to say, at the time,
did Dre actually get hurt?
Nah, he got like a black eye.
Yeah, he just got popped in the face once, but it's not like he had a concussion or anything.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And but yeah, I mean, like the security team that they were working with, they got fired. But I mean, like it didn't. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep.
But that was October 2004, and then I was planning a trip. I had some friends that used to come to Thailand. A bunch of guys that would also fight in Japan. That would like come to Thailand to lose weight before going. And I had a friend that was coming over here. I had a friend that was coming over here, and I decided I wanted to come over to do Muay Thai over here at Sawarapin Gym first, and then Sit Yod Tong in Pattaya. And when I first came to Thailand, it was early November 2004, and I was not about the food or the culture. And by the way, when I started doing Muay Thai out here, back in LA, I was doing it with like Shooterbox. When Shooterbox was first there, like Anthony Johnson was there.
Yep.
George Van Dam Oliveira was there. Roberto Pasanini. So I was doing that. I was also at Wild Card. I was at Pound for Pound on La Brea. And at the time, Legends had not opened yet. So Legends was the Bomb Squad with Chris Riley. And that's actually where like Rob Kamen and Brandon Vera and those guys were training out of. So I was, and by the by, the UFC television show still hadn't kicked off. So although I was a huge MMA fan, I was also the type of guy that I was doing Krav Maga and I was doing Kung Fu and I was doing all these things to like people would talk to me about MMA and I would be like, yeah, it's great if you want a competition fight, but for me in my line of business, I need to hit you in the throat and the eyes and the groin at the same time. The only way I can do that is
the incapacitating trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. So that was what I was into. So I came over
San Diego. We had THQ had a studio down there, and then things just fell apart really brutally for THQ, and EA swooped in and picked up the license, and that canceled UFC 4. So UFC 4, that studio just got shut down. It was in Carlsbad. And then I just worked remotely from my place on their WWE 13 title. And then after that, THQ went belly up at the start of 2013, January 2013.
Okay.
So I worked a bit for a little company called Game On Audio that was based down in Venice Beach. And that just that was a working relationship that just didn't work out really quickly. So I got burnt out. I was sick and tired of it, and I just said, "Screw it." I sold my crib in Santa Monica. I left my Porsche at a buddy's like David Duchovny at the end of Californication, and and then just jumped on a one-way ticket to the Dominican Republic. And from there, I just traveled the world on one-way tickets for like 18 months, and then decided to do what I'm doing now.
Good job, brother. Well done. I mean, I salute and applaud everybody that does the journey, if you will. You learn a lot more about yourself that way.
Yeah, I mean, and it's far
Human
from
evolution.
Over. So what made you get the hell out of Dodge, out of LA, man?
I got a good one as well, man. So like I worked for a couple different security companies. I worked for a company called IMS. I did a lot of weird security, like real weird security, and by real weird, I worked for pharmaceutical companies. If you've ever seen the movie Traffic.
Yep. Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah, you remember when Erica, the hot young girl, is just getting boned out by the large black man?
Yep.
Okay, so my job was to go and extract her. So I worked for pharmaceutical companies. Basically, doctors obviously don't go into the ghettos of just by the way, normally Venice Beach. So crack houses, everybody thinks of crack houses in Compton and Watts and South Central, and it's generally not. They're in Santa Monica. They're in Venice Beach. And so my job was to go, basically, a kid would make his way across the country from Manhattan. You know, a wealthy Manhattanite would find heroin or methamphetamine and work their way across the country. On like a meth binge, and they would hit rock bottom in LA.
An MMA junkie, and I was really pushing whatever buttons I could push in my limited role there to get the UFC license signed by EA, and that didn't happen. So one day I woke up and there was a news announcement that THQ, who was at the time a really big publisher, they'd acquired the rights to the UFC license. So I guess that was back in May of 2007. They put out a trailer with Rampage and Chuck Liddell at E3. I'm sure you know what E3 is, being from LA, Entertainment Expo. It's where the biggest video game conference in the world. And once I saw that trailer, I just looked at everybody at EA, and I'm like, I'm going to be working on that game. So I wrote THQ a letter just saying, here's who I am, here's what I do. And I specialized in doing play-by-play commentary for sports games. So I just told them, look, I've worked with the best guys in basketball, but the only sport I care about and love is MMA. So I want to be part of this project. And they flew me down and hired me a couple weeks later, and I ended up working on UFC Undisputed 1, 2, and 3. I was the audio director and the commentary designer for all three of those games. So that was actually being made up in Agoura Hills with a Japanese developer based in Osaka. So we were basically designing the game and creating a lot of the animation assets and all of the audio in Los Angeles. And that was practical for me because I could record Joe Rogan there, or Bruce Buffer lived there, Mike Goldberg would just fly in from Phoenix. The third year we had to record Boss Rutan and Stephen Quadros, and they were right in LA. I mean, Boss Rutan lived like literally a mile from me.
Dude, I used to see him at the Krav Maga Center quite a bit, actually.
And
I lived right in Century City. I was right behind Fox Studios.
Okay.
So like between Pico and Olympic on Fox Hills Drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I was right there. When you got there in 2007, though, that was kind of the year that like I was removing myself from American society. That was the year that I like sold my car. That was the year that I sold the apartment. Like I started getting rid of my condo, my apartment there. That was the year that like I basically made the decision to live full time abroad.
I can segue right into that. I mean, I just did that too. Like, you know, at the end of, so, you know, I did 4 years up in Agoura Hills where I knocked out UFC 1, 2, and 3. Then we were going to make UFC 4 in